Hello there and welcome. This is Bob Proctor back again. In a previous video, I suggested that I had been receiving, all kinds of requests. Bob, what was the secret? What really made the difference in your life? And I have received so many requests lately, they seem to come in waves, but lately I've got a lot of them, that I decided to make a video and share it. And then I got thinking I'll do it in a couple of parts. Actually, 2 or 3 parts. And in the last video, I pointed out how Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, was given to me when I was sitting in a fire hall. I was in debt. I was earning $4,000 a year, and I owed $6,000. I was not a particularly happy guy, and life just wasn't too great. Today, I'm all over the world. My company earns millions of dollars. We have a number of companies, in fact. I have wonderful friends. I live in a healthy body. I just have a great lifestyle. I've been on Larry King a couple of times, sharing the information that I've got. I've been on Ellen DeGeneres' show, Nightline, all the major magazines. I have influential friends everywhere you go. One man who was the assistant to the President of the United States wrote a foreword for my book because he thought the information I had was so valuable. And It is valuable. It changes people's lives. Now, I give you some directives yesterday, or in the last video, on what I suggest you do. You write it on the card what you want. Then you have to stop wishing for it, and you stop wishing for it when you start believing that you can do it. Hill said in here, there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. You've got to be ready. And he said you become ready by believing you can do it. Now, belief is a big word. You can go into the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Torah, the Bible, and all the great books on philosophy. They all tell you got to believe. William James said, believe, and your belief will create the fact. And he's right. Well, how do you alter your belief systems? I was trying to do things, but I didn't really believe it could happen. It was almost like I was accepting the idea that there's some emotional or capricious God somewhere that was going to reward me for trying. That isn't how it works. You've got to really believe it can happen. And then there's certain rules that you have to follow. Well, I wrote it on the card, and then I come across the concept where I wasn't ready because I didn't believe it, and then I started to find out that our belief system's based upon our evaluation of something, and so I started to reevaluate who I was. Do you know that your blood in your body circulates through hundreds of miles of passageway every 33 seconds? It carries all the food in, all the garbage out in one sweeping change. Have you any idea the number of electrical messages that go flying through your body for the simple purpose of signing your name on a piece of paper? Do you know that your brain is an electronic switching station? It has more power than the supercomputers that we read about. This is all about you and me that I'm talking about. You see, we're not taught who and what we are. There's genius locked up in every one of us, and all we have to do is bring it to the surface. Well, as we start studying the material that I'm sharing with you right now, we start to believe we can do it. And as I started to believe, my whole world started to change. But you've got to do things that would appear on the surface to be radical. They may be, going right against the grain of everybody that you know. You see, 1% of our population earns 96% of all the money that's being earned. If you take 100 people, they all start out even, you're going to find 1 will make it. 3 do okay. The rest of them, they're out of the game. Why is there such dramatic difference between the people that win and the ones who don't? Now, you've got to understand, as you start studying yourself, that a lot of the information you were raised with is not correct. It just is not accurate. Like the idea that you have to have a great formal education. I didn't have a formal education. 3 months high school. Now, would it have been nice if I had gone through? Probably would have been, but I didn't. So I couldn't spend time on it. I couldn't spend time thinking of why I couldn't. The fact that I had no business experience didn't make any difference. I built a business that operated in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England. And I did it rather fast. over about a 5-year period after reading this book. And I'm going to tell you because that's how the money started to flow to me. But as I started to study me, I started to believe in me, and it's like he said. And in the last video you watched, I quoted him. He said, remember, it takes no more effort to aim high in life to demand abundance and prosperity than is required to accept misery and poverty. Now, if you're going to win, you've got to be able to take a lot of flack. Because what you're going to do, you're going to move away from where you're at. And the people you're surrounded by are going to start criticizing what you're doing. They're going to start laughing at you. You see, as I started to read this, I was sitting in a fire hall with a bunch of guys that were all doing the same thing. We worked 7 days and 7 nights a month, and when we weren't working, we'd shoot pool, play golf, you know. We were almost retired at 26 years old. It was nuts. But that's the way I was living. Well, I did what he suggested, and I started to understand myself, and everything started to change. Now, we talked about not just repeating this, that you had to get emotionally involved in it in the last video. Now listen to what the author says. He said, hand over the thought suggested in the preceding paragraph to your imagination. In other words, you've got to believe it, you've got to see yourself doing it, you've got to become the actor, you're the star of your movie. See what your imagination can and will do to create practical plans for the accumulation of the money through the transmutation of your desire. In other words, you get this idea going, you're emotionally involved, and it's going to do something inside of you. Man, I was getting charged up. I wasn't earning any more money. The bill collectors were still calling me, but I was getting juiced. I mean, I was really getting charged. Then he said, do not wait for a definite plan through which you intend to exchange services or merchandise in return for the money that you're visualizing. Begin at once to see yourself in the possession of the money, demanding and expecting, get this, meanwhile, your subconscious mind will hand over the plan or plans you need. Keep in mind what he's saying. You've got to see yourself emotionally involved with it. You've got to be ready to act. You've got to act now. Whether you've got a plan or not, you keep acting. And it's your imagination working, it alters the vibration you're in. And as you alter your vibration, vibration is the law of the universe. In The Secret, I quoted Dr. Werner von Braun, where he said the natural laws of the universe are so precise that we don't have any difficulty building spaceships, sending people to the moon, and we can time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second. Well, one of the laws, and the law that The Secret talked about, was the law of attraction. How do you attract the new things? He's telling us here. You get emotionally involved. You get your imagination working for you. Understanding your imagination is locking into universal energy, and it's going to set up an attractive force because you change your vibration. He said, be on the alert for plans, and when they appear, put them into action immediately. When the plans appear, they will probably